Greetings, boys and girls around the world. I apologize for my lack of proper attire. It's a warm summer night and the fan is blowing, so I've got to raise my voice. I'm watching testimony by this Koskinen, the commissioner of the IRS, before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. And they're talking about Lois Lerner's emails. And I have 3 questions about the subject of Lois Lerner's emails. First, they said that her computer crashed. The hard drive was determined to be unrecoverable, and so it was recycled, which could possibly mean destroyed. A damaged hard drive doesn't get recycled, and I would think that a problem hard drive that had crashed would not be recycled, or in other words, reused, erased and then reused. But then they said the reason the hard drive was destroyed was because it contained sensitive personal taxpayer information protected by law. Information that could not be disclosed to just anybody, but only to the IRS itself. They couldn't even share it with Eric Holder or the FBI. So the hard drive had to be destroyed because it contained taxpayer information. So first they say it was a crash. I'm repeating myself now. First it was a crash, and then they said no, it was destroyed because it had sensitive taxpayer information on it. That is question number 1. Question number 2 is that first they said Lois Lerner's computer crashed, quote unquote, crashed. That could be, like an electronic glitch. A malfunction. A malfunction. That's what a crash is a malfunction. Cause unknown, but the result is your computer's not working. It crashed, therefore your computer is not working. But now they say, no, the hard drive didn't crash, the computer didn't crash, the hard drive was scratched. SCRATCHED, scratched. So the physical hard drive, the electronic component itself, was somehow physically scratched. Just as you can scratch your face, or you can scratch an old phonographic record. It was scratched. So there wasn't a crash, it was a scratch. You see, stories are being changed. And now here is the third question. Months, we're talking about time, January, February, March, April, May, June. Who knew that Lois's computer had a problem and that there were emails missing, and when did they know it? What did they know and when did they know it? People inside the IRS knew in February. Yet during March and April, May, people testified before the various committees in Congress saying that, oh yes, we will produce Lois's email. We will produce the email. We said we would. We're working on it. It could take 2 years But we're working on it because we got to read each one and make sure it doesn't contain taxpayer information. If it has that information on there, we have to black that out, remove it, redact it. So it's a long process. We have 250 people working on Lois's emails to redact the personal taxpayer information. No mention was made during this time that the emails were gone, the hard drive was damaged or destroyed. They knew in February. They testify in March, April, May. Finally in June, they say 2 years worth of her emails are gone because the computer crashed. And then they say, no, it didn't crash. We destroyed the hard drive because it contained information. This is all against the law to destroy government records. Plus, it's against the law to destroy records that will serve as evidence in a criminal prosecution. When you destroy evidence that would incriminate you, you've broken the law there. They expect us to not sit up and ask questions and listen and scratch our heads. They expect us to just hear a soundbite on NBC and then go back to our routine and not think, what the heck is going on at the IRS? And the person charged with investigating this now that Lois Lerner is held in contempt, is Eric Holder. And we now know that Eric Holder is not your grade A, all-American, Mr. Do-Gooder, law enforcement man. He's a thug. Eric Holder is a common thug. Happens to be very bright, but he's a common thug. A thug who took part in communist-inspired campus unrest, the seizing and occupying with violence and threats of private property, namely the ROTC building, ROTC office at Columbia University, while Holder was a member of a student Afro-American society. Obviously, if a bunch of students get together and they use violence and threats of violence and likely carried guns, G-U-N-S, this is not something to be glossed over and laughed away. Haha, that's kind of the overblown rhetoric of the 60s. You know, people were crazy back then, and we have to just overlook it. Just like we have to overlook Lois Lerner. If nobody holds the feet to the fire, if nobody cares, nobody will be brought to justice. There won't be any justice at the Department of Justice unless enough voters, citizens, demand it. And so there is the root of the problem, in my opinion. There's not enough people who care enough to demand accountability.